Okay, good evening then. Welcome to Andrea. Welcome back. So we are in Parashat Beshalach, and it begins after we start learning about the Exodus, about the actual Exodus from outside Egypt in the last Parashah, and this Parashah starts when Am Yisrael go away from Egypt. And it used the word Vahi Beshalach Paro, when Paro sent Am Yisrael. It looks like Paro actively did something. And some of the Midrashim say that he went with them, like what we call Levaya. Levaya is to escort them outside. It's not only send them, which may be understood in the Chasidut and other in the Kabbalah that he wanted to leave something from him in them, meaning Pharaoh always represents the bad of idolatry and other problems. And he wanted to instill in Am Yisrael this bad. It wasn't so easy to liberate yourself from Paro. It's not so easy to go away from Paro. And then after a few verses, it says that Moshe, that's the verse that we are going to speak on, it says, Vaikach Moshe et atzmot Yosef imo. That Moshe took the bones of Yosef with him. Ki yashbea bnei Israel emor, because Yosef made Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel, swear to him, make an oath. פקוד יפקוד אלוהים אתכם, when Hashem will redeem you, ועליתם את עצמותיי מזה איתכם. So Am Yisrael, the sons of Israel, which were the brothers, the tribes, did promise to Yosef. We see that Yosef died first, even though he was one of the youngest. And Am Yisrael committed himself to take his bones. Now, in the verse, it looks like there is a little bit of contradiction. It says, Vaikach Moshe et atzmot Yosef imo. Moshe took the bones because Yosef made Bnei Israel swear. So why didn't Bnei Israel were the one who was taken? Why Moshe? So Moshe is part of Am Yisrael. But it looks like a contradiction here. Or it could, I mean, if Moshe is doing that as a Am Yisrael, you should say Am Yisrael took Atzmot Yosef, the bones of Yosef. Why it says that Moshe took? And it says in other places, in Sefer Yoshua, it says that Am Yisrael, the Bnei Israel, brought the bones of Yosef to Eretz Israel. Zer Chachamim ask about the contradiction, and they say Moshe started, Am Yisrael finished. But in the verse, it looks a little bit noticeable that it says that Moshe took the atzamot and the bones, while Am Yisrael was the one who was making the oath. So what is this difference? Another little bit of a question is why here to mention that? We already read about that in the former parasha. In the former parasha, we read that Am Yisrael went out from Egypt. There, it was a moment to tell us that he took, because he took the bones before they went out, not after they went out. Okay? And also, imo. What does it mean, imo? Vaikach Moshe et atzmot Yosef. You could have said Moshe took the bones of Yosef. Of course, with him. Why you have to say he took the bones of Yosef with him, imo, together with him? Of course, it's with him. So this is some of the questions of the verse. There are others, and we start saying some of the mefarshim before Chasidut mefarshei pshat, the literal meaning. Sforno says, "Vaikach Moshe et atzmot Yosef imo." Bioto az nesi ador, because Moshe was the president of the generation, meaning he was the leader, so the responsibility is on him. That's what it says next. כי אשבה את בני ישראל, והנה חיוב הדור מוטל על נשיאו. So the obligation to take the bones of Yosef, just, I didn't mention, why taking the bones of Yosef? To bury them in Eretz Israel. That was a promise that they made to Yosef. I will be buried now in Egypt, but after that, you should take my bones to Eretz Israel.
So a question.
Yeah.
What about the brothers? Were they also buried in Israel?
Yes, so the Torah doesn't say anything about it. The Midrash says that together with the bones of Yosef, they took also the bones of the brothers.
Who was carrying them?
Also with apparently Moshe, yeah. Apparently Moshe. So that's what the Sforno says. והנה חיוב הדור מוטל על נשיאו. The commitment or the obligation of the generation, who is responsible of carrying out, of applying, implementing the obligation of the generation. If I said this generation has an obligation, who has the obligation, to do that. The leader, that's what Sforno says, חיוב הדור, the obligation of the generation, מוטל על נשיאו, is on the president.
He
So,
could have delegated.
what?
He could have delegated. He could have appointed.
Yeah, maybe he did that. When it says he did that, it doesn't mean that necessarily that he took it by his own ends. We say yes, and the Midrashim say praise Moshe for the effort that he did for that. But when it says that Moshe took the bonds, could it have been that he ordered to take the bonds? Yes. When it says that I don't know, Moshe built the Mishkan, meaning that he literally in his own hands, or did it say that Shlomo built the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, meaning that Shlomo with his own hands built the temple? No, we can say that he ordered that to be done. So if we go into the Pshat, you can say Am Yisrael had the obligation, the commitment that they did to Yosef to take the bonds, and Moshe was the one who's doing this obligation in the name of Am Yisrael. So this contradiction in the verse, it can be resolved in this way. Now, but there is a very famous midrash that praised Moshe for doing that. So when was the time that Moshe did that? We are talking about the Moshe taking the bonds of Yosef to bury in Eretz Yisrael. When was the time? Just before getting out from Egypt. He didn't do that 6 months before. Just before going out from Egypt, Moshe took the bonds of Yosef to bury them in Eretz Yisrael. The question is, what did the rest of Am Yisrael do in this time? They were busy in making money. Okay, how did they make money? They went and asked vessels of gold, vessels of silver, dress, clothes from the Egyptians. And in order not to return. This is a famous question. Was it a stealing? Was it a theft? Wasn't it a theft? Anyway,
Reparation.
what?
Reparation.
Reparation. Yeah.
For 84 years of slave labor.
Yeah. Anyway, they were busy. That's what the Mechilta. Mechilta, it's the Midrash of Rabbi Ishmael. Mechilta the Rabbi Ishmael says, להודיע חוכמתו של משה. To teach us the wisdom of Moshe. שהיו הכל עסוקים בביזה. Everybody was busy in ביזה. ביזה, in Hebrew, I don't know, it's spoiled. Yeah, when you are going to a war and taking all the things. In this case, it wasn't literally spoiled, but this is a term that it's usually used about that. They were busy spoiling the Egyptians, taking from them everything that they could. Moshe, so everybody was busy in making money. ומשה היה עסוק, ומשה was busy בעצמות יוסף, in the bonds of Yosef. עליו הכתוב אומר, about him the verse says, חכם לב ייקח מצוות. One who is wise will take mitzvot. So this verse is a game of words with ויקח משה, ייקח מצוות. Everybody is busy of taking bonds, money, and he is busy in taking mitzvot. So everybody has his priorities. What can you ask about that?
We can say that they were busy fulfilling the.
Exactly. This is one.
Said they're going to be exiting Israel in Mitzrayim with a lot of spoils. They're going to be rich when they were going out.
Yes. So the first question, Am Yisrael also did mitzvah in this time.
Exactly.
The order to take the spoil from Egyptians came from God. God told Moshe, please tell Am Yisrael, I think we had a lesson about that in the past. Please tell Am Yisrael to take spoil, to take vessels of gold and silver from Egyptians. So they also did mitzvah. Why do you say that Moshe did mitzvah and they didn't do mitzvah? What do you think you can answer this question?
Well, they were doing it for themselves, and who's doing it?
Yes, so maybe the intentions. They were doing that in order to make money. He did that in order to make the will of God. And who says so? Maybe they did that because they wanted to fulfill the wish of Hashem.
What about the mitzvah of burying the dead?
He was taking him out.
No, but Yosef wasn't buried properly. He was buried in the Nile, right?
So this is again the midrash. Okay, but yeah, okay, it's a mitzvah. I'm not saying it's not a mitzvah, but you say so the mitzvah of burying as priority more than making money. Of mitzvah of making money. Chesed shel emet. Okay, so you say you're doing better mitzvah. Okay. Another question that can come from that, or from this midrash, What does it mean, wisdom? Why is it wisdom? I would say righteousness, piety, Chasidut, piety. Yeah, piety, being pious, piety, righteousness. Okay, but why wisdom? What it has to do with wisdom? Wisdom is you are clever. I mean, clever that you're looking on the next word. How do you understand wisdom here? To teach you the wisdom of Moshe. Everybody was busy with the spoil, and he was busy with the bones of Yosef. So, what do you think? What's wisdom are there here? Is there here? Yeah, we can say that, what we said before. If you're saying you're considering a better mitzvah or a higher level of mitzvah, the wisdom is to choose correctly the priorities. I mean, choosing priorities is one of the most important things in life, because we cannot do everything. We always want to choose. We have to choose between options. So Moshe had clear the right priorities, and in order to have that, he was wise. So this may be the explanation. Okay, anyway, we continue. We see now still not Chasidut. Chomat Anach. Chomat Anach was written by the Chida, Rab Chaim Yosef David Azulai, one of the greatest rabbi of Eretz Israel I think, in the 18th century. He was also Shadar. Do you know what is Shadar? The Yeshuv in Eretz Israel. They were very poor. Usually, they weren't productive. There wasn't any businesses, almost. They weren't working in anything. Most of the people who lived in Jerusalem just learned in yeshivot or stuff like that. They weren't very productive, and they needed money. How did they get money? They sent rabbis and other people that was their profession to go outside to the Galut to ask money for the Kolelim in Eretz Israel. That was called the Yeshuv Yashan. Was criticized after that, but anyway, that was the way that there were Jewish yeshuv, Jewish people, settlements in Eretz Israel for centuries. They were only could survive. They could only survive with that money. So usually they sent important people, and one of the most important shadarim and famous shadarim was Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David. He had an amazing ability to do everything. And we talked about priorities. He wrote, I think, around 70 books, and he was wandering all around the world, in North Africa, in Europe, all around the world.
Ladino and Yiddish because his mom was Ashkenazi.
Yeah? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He spoke Ladino, that for sure. Everybody spoke Ladino in this time.
He was also
And,
because his mom was Ashkenazi and
yeah.
very strong Ashkenazi.
So he went everywhere, and he got a lot of money for Eretz Israel. And he also had the time to learn Torah, to be one of the greatest rabbis in the generation, and to write bunch of books. Anyway, one of these bunch of books is called Chomat Anach, and it's a Perush on the Torah. And he asks this question, ויש להבין, מה חוכמה שייך אחה? Why do you call it wisdom? What it has to do with חוכמה? ואפשר, ויש לחקור, בפרק כמה דסוטה אמרו, דהניחו למשה דכבודו בגדולים. So there is a midrash in Masechet Sotah that says, why Am Yisrael didn't take the bones of Yosef? He said, this is a very important mitzvah, and it deserves to be done by the greatest, meaning by Moshe. So the honor, kvodo, the honor of Yosef is that would be done with great people. ואם כן, איך משה רבנו עליו השלום עניו מכל, כאן נראה שמחזיק עצמו לגדול. So if Moshe is the most modest person in earth, in the history, it says Moshe anav mikol ha'adam. So how he show himself as a great, as a big? We say that the greatest should do that. Anichu leMoshe, leave it to Moshe because he is the greatest. So if he's doing that, he is proving that he is the greatest, but he is the most modest. So how can he say that he is the greatest? By doing that, he is accepting that he is the greatest. So it's against his modesty. אך יש לומר, and this is a very important principle of Chida here. He says, when you are coming to making mitzvot, don't be modest. Don't say, yeah, I'm modest, I don't want to do that. Let someone else have the merit. No, if there is a mitzvah, you should do that. And this is, he called it Chochmat HaChasidut, the wisdom of piety. What I said before, priorities also in mitzvot, or in avodat Hashem, the service of God, or in midot, attributes, character. Don't be modest if it can do better, bigger damage to the most important objective. Okay, again, if you are the one who can do that, don't say no, I don't deserve to that, or I'm not in the right level. And we can say that this was maybe the problem of Moshe in the beginning. When Hashem told him, you are going to be the leader, what he said, no, send by someone else. So he had this problem to overcome his modesty and to take leadership, to take responsibility on what's going to happen. And here he says, after he passed all this process with Paro, with all the makot, etc., in the last moment, he said, you know what? Yeah, I am the biggest to do that. I recognize my greatness, and I understand that I should do that. So this is chokhmat Chasidut. You don't give the anava, your modesty, to cancel your ability to do in mitzvot. Okay, so this is the wisdom of Moshe in this. Okay, until now we saw the pshat. Now we are continue with Chasidut and first of Beshalach, and I want to tell you a good news. After a few weeks without Shem Shmuel, we return to Shem Shmuel today. It's a long, interesting, important Shem Shmuel. Anyway, we are starting with Beshalach, as a famous rabbi of Chasidut. It says, ויהי בשלח פרעה וכולי, ויקח משה את עצמות יוסף. So, famous question, I mentioned it before, why the verse that Moshe took the bones of Yosef wasn't written in his right place, meaning in the form of Parashah. Okay? עניין סמיכת הפסוקים. The reason why these verses are connected to each other. דהנה, כאשר ראה משה רבנו עליו השלום, כי אף אחר שיגאלו, עוד פרעה הולך אחריהם ללוותם. When Moshe Rabbeinu saw that even after the redemption, Paro still go to escort them, עלה בדעתו ספק, he had doubt in his mind. פן עדיין לא נשלמו ישראל בתכלית השלמות. Maybe עם ישראל didn't arrive to the final perfection. ועל זה יש עוד שייכות לפרעה עמהם. That's the reason that Paro is still related to them. We said, why Paro was escorting them, going with them? Why? Because Paro is bad. They still have something with Paro. Paro has the ability to be with Am Yisrael because Am Yisrael wasn't yet disconnected from Paro. So Moshe was worried. Am Yisrael didn't arrive to the right level, to the level they should in order to be able to disconnect from Paro. ופנו מחמת שיהיה הזמן במצרים ולכן יש לו צד שייכות. Maybe because it was so long in Egypt. We know that it was hundreds of years, and the impurity of Egypt was instilled profoundly inside Am Yisrael. So Moshe was worried we didn't liberate ourselves from Paro yet. Hey, you wanted to say something?
When was Paro escorting them?
When they went out.
Like that's when they were chasing? Or
No, before. It doesn't say clearly here, but apparently one day or something like that. It says that Beshalach Paro. When you are Meshalech Mishu, sending someone, meaning you are going with him to send him away. There is a mitzvah to escort someone when he's coming to visit you. You are escorting him for a few steps outside of the house. So this term, Beshalach Paro, it's a midrash. It's not written clearly, but the midrash said that it didn't only told them go away. He went with them few steps, few days, I don't know. Anyway, Moshe was worried, maybe because of the long time in Egypt. Maybe they are still connected for them with Paro. והנה איתה. So to answer that, כל שירת חטאו קודמת לחוכמתו, חוכמתו מתקיימת. It's another interesting principle about avodat Hashem, the right way to serve God. It says, the Mishnah Masechet Avot says, if you have more reverence, awe of God than wisdom, your wisdom will persist. But if not, your wisdom won't stand. The Mishnah gives an example. This sentence repeat twice in the Mishnah Masechet Avot, and then in the second time it gives an example of a tree with a lot of fruits. So even if the tree is small, if he has strong roots, the wind won't take him away. But even if it's a big tree, but it has small and weak roots, so the root is Yirat Shamayim, is reverence of God or fear of God. And wisdom is the tree itself. So the wisdom should be based on Yirat Shamayim. When you are too smart and too intelligent, but you don't have the fear of God, you don't have the basic attribute of reverence of awe of God, so your wisdom won't help you. Did I already told you about the Gerus Farad, about the philosophers of Gerus Farad? Akedat Yitzchak. Maybe I told, I don't know if it's this class or other. Anyway, I tell it again. It's very famous. It was written by Akedat Yitzchak and by Chasid Yavatz and others that they lived in the generation of Gerus Farad. So in Gerus Farad, how do you say Gerus Farad? The
Expulsion from Spain.
Exile of Spain. It wasn't obligation. The Jews could choose between staying in Spain and converting to Christianity, to Catholicism, or to go away. So it was a test of faith. Now, I would like to tell you that everybody could stand the test, but it wasn't like that. The reality wasn't like that. And I don't know about percentage, but tens of thousands of Jews chose to convert. And then after that, they became the communities of the Marons, of the forced conversion. We are not judging. We don't know. I'm not judging. I at least don't judge. And I don't know what everybody would done. It's interesting enough, there were even rabbis. The principal rabbis of Spain in this time, his name was Avraham Senior. He converted. I'm not saying Rabbi Avraham Senior because he finished his life as Christian. Avraham Senior. So not all of Israel could stand the temptation. And so Akedat Yitzchak and Chasid Yavatz, both of them told that they were family. That both of them told that it was interesting that those who learned the simple people, everybody were they went out. They didn't convert the religion. They could stand for the principles. But those who learned philosophy, and they were very dedicated to have these discussions with the philosophers, the Christian philosophers, the Muslim. It was very vivid, all the scene of philosophy in Spain. There were discussions about what is the right religion, if Aristotle is the right or Plato is the right. There was a very vivid scene of philosophy. So those who were very dedicated to philosophy and could prove that Judaism is truth in 10 ways, they were the one who couldn't stand the test. Because, if you can explain this way, you can explain another way. If your faith is based on the philosophy, so you can find other way to philosopher, to make the philosophy, right? So if the wisdom is not based on Yirat Shamayim, reverence of God, this wisdom is not good enough. It wouldn't stand the test. So this is what the Mishnah in Masechet Avot says. And now, based on that, Meir Shiloach add another point. He says, והעניין בזה, שלפעמים נמצא שהשם יתברך מעלים מעשיו ומסתיר כוונותיו בבני אדם. Many times, God hide his meanings from us. We don't understand the actions of God. ואין אדם יודע את רצון השם יתברך בעסק הזה. A person doesn't know what Hashem wants from him. He is confused. Many times people that make tshuva, and suddenly something bad happened to them. And they ask themselves, why Hashem did? I just start going in the right way, and immediately I got hit by God. Why did it to me? So I don't understand the situation. I don't understand what's happening, what's going on. Or we can say nationally. Why did the 7th of October happen? Why did that happen? Many times we don't really understand. And then we ask ourselves, why? כמו שהיה העניין כאן, שהיה לפלא בעיני משה. למה לא נחם השם דרך אלוהים? I cut a little bit of what he said before. If you see the 3 points, he said also the fact that Hashem didn't take them in the short way. It says, the next verse in the Parashah, Hashem didn't lead them, Nacham is lead them. He didn't lead them through the short way. even though it was close, and he leads them for the long way. So Moshe didn't understand why Hashem doesn't want to bring us to the land of Israel. So Moshe was confused because of that. And he says, like it was here, שהיה לפלא בעיני Moshe. It was strange, rare, awkward in the eyes of Moshe. למה לא נחם השם דרך ארץ פלישתים? Why didn't Hashem lead them through the land of the פלישתים? והעצה לזה, now we tell you, what is the advice? When you are confused by the actions of God, you don't know, you don't understand what God is doing for you, to you, שאם רואה אדם שהשם יתברך מנהיג עמו בהסתר, if the person sees that Hashem lead him in הסתר, meaning in a hidden way, it's not clear, אז לא ירבה להתחכם. You shouldn't be too smart. You shouldn't smart God, over smart God. Okay, you shouldn't investigate and try to find philosophical solution. So what you should do, רק יעסוק בפשוטי מצוות. You should just do מצוות. When you are confused, just do מצוות. ויכלול עצמו במידות היראה. And you should include yourself in the מידה, in the attribute of יראת שמיים, the reverence of God. וזה, ויקח משה את עצמות יוסף. And this is the meaning of the verse, that Moshe took the bones of Yosef. How it goes like that? כי דרך הצדיק שתולה חיסרון בעצמו, כשיבנה לפניו דבר ספק. What is the way of the righteous? The righteous, when he see any kind of confusion, he say, it should be my fault for some reason. When something like that happened to me, it must be my fault. וזה העניין שלקח עצמות יוסף, כי לאשר תלה חיסרון בעצמו, לכן החל להכניס עצמו מידת היראה, כי עצמות יוסף רומז על זה, כי מידת יוסף הצדיק היה יראה. Okay, so it was, Yosef, he say in other places we can see that Yosef is, the special character of Yosef was יראת שמיים, the fear of God. So what Moshe took, the עצמות is the עצם, the essence. It's a game of bone, right? It's the bones, but it's also, it comes from that. The bone of the person is like his essence, it's really made from. So when Moshe was confused and didn't understand, he took with him the fear of Yosef, the essence of Yosef, which is fear of God. כמו שנדבר על הפסוק, ונצלח כאש בית יוסף וכולי, וזהו כל שירת חטאו גוננת חוכמתו, והוא מידת יוסף הצדיק עליו השלום. So, we have here a nice advice. When you are confused, focus in some simple mitzvah. Do a simple mitzvah. I don't know, נטילת ידיים, give צדקה, pray, תרומות ומעשר, I don't know what you can do here in חוץ לארץ more. Just do a simple mitzvah. That would help you. I don't know if you understand or you're not going to understand, but when Hashem is hidden from you, the solution according to Moshe, you should learn from Moshe, you just should stick with יראת שמיים, awe of God, and do a simple mitzvah. And that's what Moshe did in this case. Okay, we continue now to the Shem Yishmael. This is another, until now we have two advices. The advice of Chida is not to be modest when action is required. Okay, take the action. The advice of Beshalach, when you are confused, just stick with simple actions of good, simple deeds of good, and look for יראת שמיים. These are two advices, good advices we already learned from this verse. Now we continue to the third verse, third explanation of Shem Yishmael. Just a second. How do I? Yeah. Shem Yishmael. ויקח משה את יוסף ומור במדרש, so this is a verse, ויקח משה took the bones of Yosef, או המדרש עליו הכתוב אומר, המדרש says, it's about Moshe that it says, חכם לב ייקח מצוות. The wise will take מצוות, שכל ישראל יהיו עסוקים בכסף וזהב. All of the rest of עם ישראל were busy in silver and gold. ומשה היה עסוק בעצמות יוסף. And Moshe was busy taking the bones of יוסף. והקושייה מבוארת. The question is quite clear. וכל ישראל שהיו עסוקים בכסף וזהב, נמי מצווה כעבדי. The rest of עם ישראל that were busy taking כסף and זהב, they were also busy in what? In doing מצוות. כמו שכתוב, דבר נא באוזני העם. Hashem told him, Moshe, please, tell עם ישראל to take gold and silver. So why do you say Moshe was busy in mitzvah? Well, everybody else also were busy in mitzvah. וכבוד קדושת אבי אדוני מורי ורבי זכר צדיק לברכה לחיי העולם הבא, he did. So my father said, שלשון ייקח הוא לשון הגבהה. What is ייקח, לקחת? לקחת is to rise. Not only to take to yourself, it's to rise. והיינו, and it wants to say, שכל ישראל נע ממצווה כעבדי. It's true that all Israel did מצווה. אלא משה רבנו עליו השלום הגביה את המצוות. He can rise the מצווה. So there is also the way you are doing מצווה and the purpose. That's what you mentioned before. The purpose, what? Elevate. Yeah, elevate. So the purpose, they're doing that to make money or they're doing that to make mitzvot? It's even better than that. We're going to see. כי כל ישראל לתועלת עצמם כעבדים. The rest of עם ישראל did that for the benefit of themselves. But not what you think. Not to be rich. Because why? Let's remember. שברכוש הזה היה נצפון ונתלבש את האורות וחלקי הקדושה שהוציאו ממצרים. Okay, what does it mean? ניצוצות. Remember the sparks? We speak about it several times. The sparks, meaning in the scene of the first man, sparks of holiness were spread all around the world. And our mission is to collect them. We should collect. That's the reason we are going to exile. We are in the Galut, so we are collecting all the holiness that there is in many, many places in the world. So when Am Yisrael went out from Egypt, it says all these goods that they took, it wasn't only in order to be rich, it was also in order to take the sparks of holiness. And it's connected to each other. There is another explanation that I didn't bring here, that it says that this was the claim of Korach, כל העדה כולם קדושים, because everybody took from the gold, but you didn't. Everybody took from the gold, meaning everybody took the holiness, the sparks of holiness from Egyptians, and you, Moshe, you didn't do that. So why are you elevate yourself more than the other people? And who took more than everyone else?
He did.
Korach. Korach was the richest person in his generation. So I took so much holiness from Egypt, I should be the leader. It's interesting way to see the discussion of Korach and okay, so why was wrong? Because the mitzvah of taking the bonds were more than all the rest of the mitzvot. Anyway, returning to here, it says that the interest of Am Yisrael was for themselves, but in a positive way, not in order to be rich. They wanted the holiness for themselves, to take to Am Yisrael. אבל משה רבנו עליו השלום גם על זה לא השגיח. משה רבנו didn't care about being holier by taking the gold, אלא על צורך ישראל. But what is the obligation of Am Yisrael? The obligation of Am Yisrael, the promise of Am Yisrael was to take the bonds of Yosef. I don't care about being holier. I don't care about my part in the next world, about collecting mitzvot to myself, to my interest. I'm doing my obligation for the benefit of Am Yisrael. So again, the attitude of Moshe, it's what you said, right? There is different mitzvot, but in an even deeper level. Not because Am Yisrael wanted to be rich and Moshe wanted to make mitzvot. Am Yisrael wanted to make mitzvot, but like in a personal way. While Moshe didn't care about his next world. Where else can we see that? We can see that when Hashem told Hashem, I will kill Am Yisrael and you will be...
I'll start from you.
Start from you. And he told him, Mecheni na misifrecha. Delete me from your book. What book? Sefer HaChaim, the book of life, the next word. He said, I don't want even know the next. Without Am Yisrael, I don't want anything. I don't want to be written in the book of life. I don't want the next word. I'm only worried about Am Yisrael. So again, the personal purpose of Moshe was more elevated than the purpose of Am Yisrael. And that's the reason this was wise. I mean, that he is praised for what he did. V'divrei pi chacham chen. When you agree with the explanation, the custom is to say, V'divrei pi chacham chen. The words of a wise person is grace, is nice. So you've said about his father, this is a nice explanation. But he still wants to add more. ויש להוסיף בדברים. We should add about this explanation. ועם זה יובן מה שתיאר אותו הכתוב במעשה זה בתואר חכם לב. And with that, and with my extra explanation, additional explanation, we will understand also the title of wise. And wise, it doesn't say wise, it says wise of a heart. Now, a question here, where the wisdom is, in the heart or in the head? In the head. But in the Bible, the wisdom is always in the heart. Egion libi, right? And lev chacham bimino. There are several times, but still, here he goes in the a little bit more modern way of seeing things, that the heart is not wisdom. What do we relate with the heart? Emotions, usually. Emotion, enthusiasm, feelings, even though where are the emotions? It's not in the heart, it's in the head also, right? It's also in the head. But we relate it to the heart. Why? Because when we are excited, we feel here something, right? It's because the heart works harder. So we relate our feelings with the heart, even though both of them are in the head. Okay, so with this division between heart and mind and sechel, intelligence, we are going to explain now some important things, and I will do like a little bit of introduction. We can say that both are very important, right? You should serve God with the right understanding and also with the right feeling. You should feel connected with God, and you should also understand what you're doing. Both things are important. What is more important? It's many times it's like asking who you like more, your mother or your father. You don't ask this question. Both are important. Okay? But who should be the first? Who should lead? So usually based on Rambam, we say that the head should lead the heart. So of course we should work on ourselves in order to be connected, but when we should decide between what we feel and what we understand, we always should go according to our understanding, not according to our feelings. Sometimes it's very hard, but it should be that so this is a cheater watch. He said that I walked 2,000. I was sitting here in the last hour.
Was your brain working?
I don't know, maybe because I'm moving. Okay, anyway, cheating. Yeah. Okay, returning to the topic here, it says, okay, so I say that usually we should say that the mind should control the feeling and not the feeling should control the mind. Anyway, returning here, it says wise of the heart. והנה מה שתיאר אותו הכתוב במעשה זה בתואר חכם לב. We will understand why is described as wise of the heart or heart of wise heart. דהנה ידוע, it is known, שגלות מצרים הייתה מירוק לישראל מחטאי דורות הקודמים, חטא התאווה וחטא עבודה זרה. It is known that the exile of Egypt was the correction, the purification of Am Israel from the sins of the former generations. It's a bit hard to understand what former generation, Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. No, apparently the first generation in Egypt were before starting to be slaves. They were also start to impurify in the sins of the Egyptians. And then also we can say that, yeah, between the brothers, the tribes, maybe there was these sins, but he speaks specifically about two things. The sin of ta'ava, desire, and usually when we are talking about desire, it's about sexual desire. V'chet avodah zara, the sin of idolatry. וזה פרעה מלך קשה ומחשב גדול, לעומת חטא עבודה זרה. So we have two enemies in Egypt. We have Paro and we have Egypt. Paro represents the sins of idolatry. Because Paro, it says that he was מחשב גדול, big magician. And this is idolatry, right? He has these dark powers. Machshefa, yeah, mechashefa is witch, yeah. So for male you say mechashef, you say witch for male, wizard.
Sounds kind of possible.
Yeah, and witch is so negative. Do we have witch for male? Bad wizard in English? Yeah, bad wizard. You say bad wizard, the dark wizard. How is Voldemort described in the book of Harry Potter? Okay, anyway, it says that Pharaoh was a big king. Everything is okay? Yeah, okay. And a big wizard. And this is compared or parallel to idolatry. ומצרים, מדינה קשה, אשר בשר חמורים בשרם. It says in the verse that they were very, very materialists, the Egyptians, the state of Egypt. the country of Egypt. לעומת חטא התאווה, and this is compared to the sin of desire. So Paro is idolatry. Idolatry comes from what? From the mind, mistakes about who is a real God. Desire comes from the heart, from the desires, from the feelings. And it says, ובחטא התאווה, about the sins of the desire, נתמרקו ויצאו שלמים. עם ישראל was purified, and they were perfect in that. How do we know that? כי לא נחשד אחד מהם על ערווה. כמו שכתוב, גן נעול, גל נעול. So the generation of... Yeah, we're going to see that. ואחת הייתה, ופרסמה כתוב. Okay, yeah, we are going to see that. So it says that it's the Midrash testify about Am Israel. Nobody had sins of prohibited relationships. How do you say adultery? Adultery.
In Egypt?
Yeah, in Egypt. No one, apart from one woman. Remember what woman?
Yeah.
The mother of the Mekalel, the one who cursed. So it says, Shlomit Badivri. So there is a story about one, it says, son of the Egyptians that fought with the son of the Israeli. So what son of the Egyptian was we're talking about the desert. What son of Egypt? It says she was the only woman that had an Egyptian husband. And it was also by mistake. It said, וגם זו כסבורה שהוא בעלה. There's a story in the Midrash, how it was exactly this story, but this child was the only child with Egyptian father. So we see that Am Yisrael was totally cleansed, purified from the sin of desire. This is from one side, but מחטא עבודה זרה לא נתברכו לגמרי. They weren't purified from the sin of idolatry. How do we know that? There are several proofs for that. First of all, ולא שמעו אל משה מקוצר רוח ומעבודה קשה. We talked about this verse 2 or 3 weeks ago, but here we explain it according to the Midrash. They couldn't hear Moshe because of קוצר רוח, shortness of breath, ומעבודה קשה, hard work. What is a hard work? עבודה קשה is עבודה זרה. It was, עבודה was קשה to them. במדרש היה קשה להם לפרוש מעבודה זרה. עבודה קשה meaning it was hard to leave the idolatry. It was hard to leave the עבודה. כמו שכתוב, another proof for that, משכו, קחו לכם צום. In קורבן פסח it says, Moshe told them, how do you say, משכו, pull and take a sheep or a flock. Why do you have to say pull? You could have said take. Why pull and take? There is a verb that is unnecessary here. Yeah, you shouldn't have written. So there are explanations for that. One of them, בראשי, משכו ידיכם מעבודה זרה. You should first of all stop doing idolatry and then take the sheep. Don't take the sheep while you're still doing idolatry. What we can see, idolatry. What we can see from that they were dedicated they still did idolatry. ומכלל שעדיין לא נתמרקו ממנו. We can learn from that they didn't purify themselves from idolatry. ומירוק הזה עדיין סובב והולך עד לעתיד. So not only that generation, until the future, we still don't clean from that. I don't know if you're speaking about us, but you can see during the Bible, all the Bible is full of idolatry of Am Yisrael. All the book of Shoftim, we just learned about the book of Shoftim. All the book of Shoftim, and they went after the gods of this. Every time they send him as judge and then they go. And that is that in the books of Melachim. This king went after the idolatry, and this king, and this king, and this king. So they weren't liberate themselves, purify themselves from the sin of idolatry until many, many generations after that. So in the moment of going out from Egypt, they weren't yet had the merit of being cleaned from עבודה זרה. Okay? והנה, חטא התאווה הוא בלב, וחטא עבודה זרה הוא במוח. The sin of desire is in the heart, and the sin of idolatry is in the mind. ובמצרים נתמרקו מחטא הלב. In Egypt they were purified themselves from the sin of the heart, על כן זכו לעומתו לפסח, so they got the מצווה of פסח, ואיתקה למייקל על פטורה דאבוהון באהבה ודבקות. This is from the Zohar, I think, in Aramaic. There are some words that I just don't learn. I don't know. 1,000 times you already told me that. Anyway, the Aramaic, it says the itki, they had the merit to eat on the table of the father. Am Yisrael got the merit to eat on the table of the father, which is Korban Pesach. Be'ahava, with love and dvekut. And adoration. Yeah? Adoration. ועדיין נצרך להם שיזכו ליראה. So they could overcome or purify the sin of desire, but still they don't have the level of יראה, of reverence, related to what we said before, שהוא בחינת המוח והשכל. In order to be able to arrive to the level of יראה, you need to understand. You need to arrive to the level of the understanding of the mind. וזה זכו בקריאת ים סוף. When did they arrive to the level of יראת שמיים? In קריאת ים סוף, כמו שכתוב, ויראו העם את השם. עם ישראל feared God, it says after the קריאת ים סוף, after the, what's happening? Splitting of the sea. אך באשר ידע משה שזה תלוי במירוק מחטא עבודה זרה שעדיין לא נתפרקו לגמרי עד לעתיד, רצה על כל פנים שיזכו מפאת זכותו. So Moshe understood that it's not going to come for their merit. They couldn't purify themselves. It must be for his merit. כאומרם זיכרונה לברכה, יראה לגבי משה מילתא זוטרתא היא. The Gemara says that for יראת שמיים, for Moshe it was something small. So Moshe was expert in יראת שמיים, זה מידה of יראה. It's a little bit against what we said before. Before we said that he felt that he need to strengthen himself with יראת שמיים. Here it says, Moshe was strong in יראת שמיים. אבל משה בענוותנותו, we return to the modesty of משה, לא הרהיב עוז בנפשו לחשוב שזכותו לבד יועיל לזה. He didn't think, my יראת שמיים was good enough. על כן כתיב, ויקח משה את עצמות יוסף עמו. So that's the reason that he took with him the bonds of Yosef. So again, let's see how it's connected to the verse. We ask, why it's come with the verse of Beshalach Paro et ha'am, that Paro sent the people. Moshe was worried that Paro was with them, meaning they weren't liberating themselves from Paro. Paro was the problem of what? Of idolatry, of the mind. And Paro was wise king. Okay, it wasn't Achashverosh. He was wise, and this was a problem. And he understood Moshe that Am Yisrael didn't liberate himself from that. So he need to arrive to Kriyat Yam Suf with the merit of Moshe. But Moshe thought, I'm not good enough. What I have to take, the bonds of Yosef, the essence of Yosef. What is the essence of Yosef? Yirat Shamayim. How do we know that? And now it's going to extend a little bit about that. What it was said in Mea Shiloach, but he didn't explain so much why. Why Yosef is Yirat Shamayim? He relate Yirat Shamayim to the mind. Ve'ainu, de'ine כבר הגדנו. We already learned במהות יוסף והשבטים. So he returning something to word in ספר בראשית. שמדרש, שיוסף הוא בחינת ראש להשבטים. Yosef is a head, the Midrash says that Yosef is the head of the tribes. What does it mean that he head of the tribes? You can understand the leader. But he doesn't say he is the heart of the tribes. He says that he is the head of the tribes. והיינו, שיוסף עם צדקתו וישרת לבבו, even though Yosef was righteous and also has a straight heart, זכה נמי, he also had לשלמות בחינת המוח והשכל. He arrived to the perfection also in the mind, in the brain and in the understanding. ועל כן, ניסיון יוסף, now he is returning to the wife of Potiphar. What was the test of Yosef? We can understand a simple test of desire, right? ועל כן, ניסיון יוסף, אף שבפשיטות היה בחינת התאווה שבלב, even though that the simple understanding it was about the desire and the heart, desire related to the heart, מכל מקום מבואר במדרש, the מדרש says, שזאת הרשעה ראתה בהצטגנינות שעתידה להעמיד ממנו בן. So the מדרש says that Potiphar's wife also she saw in the stars, in the astrology, that she's going to have a son from him. How did it happen? Because he married her daughter. Yosef marries the daughter of Bat Potiphar. So she knew he's going to have a son from her. So she said, okay, with me. And that's the reason she tried to seduce him. ובוודאי, so here שני שמואל assume, כשפיתתה אותו, when she tried to seduce him, סיפרה לו והראתה לו כן. So she showed him that. He said, you know, I have a proof that you are going to have a son from me. So let's do it. אבל הוא תפס בפשיט, so he has a conflict now. The mind told him, and Yosef was one who can see the future in some ways. So he knew she was right. So he said, well, I know that she is right. So my mind tell me one thing, but I also know that it's not allowed. אבל הוא תפס בפשיטות, באשר דבר זה אסור על פי הדין. So when you have a conflict between the law and your understanding, between your philosophy and the mitzvot of the Torah, how should you choose? You should cancel your wisdom and stick with the law. Okay, this is a hard test. When you think your values, your understanding of the world tell you one thing, and the law, the Torah tells you other things. So this is a real conflict. So from one side, she showed him, and he understood that she is right. But from the other side, he understood that it is not allowed. It's not allowed to have a relationship with a married woman. It's not allowed. There's nothing you can do about that. דבר זה אסור על פי הדין. So in this case, צריכים לבטל את כל החוכמות וכל השכליות מפני רצון השם. You should nullify, cancel, reject all the wisdom in the world and all the intelligence and all the philosophy in front of the will of God. So he did that. So the test wasn't only about desire, it also was about the place of wisdom in your life. ועל כן זכה לעומתו לשלמות מעלת השכל. So that's the reason that Yosef gained the level of the שכל. שכל דבר שאדם מוסר להשם יתברך, זוכה לעומתו לדבר רעי במעלת הקודש. This is another principle that it teaches us. Everything that you sacrifice for God, because it's bad, you are giving up something that is important for you. Because you know it's not allowed, you will gain that in the Kedusha, in the holy way. So this is a principle that it teaches here. Everything that person sacrifices to God, he will get something that is compared to that in the Kedusha. כעניין, the same as we saw, בזכות ויסתר משה פניו, כי ירא מהביט, זכה לתמונת השם יביט. When Moshe was in the snare, it says he covered his face because he was afraid to look on the God. And after that he says, תמונת השם יביט. Hashem said that Moshe could look on God. So because he sacrificed that, he gains that in the allowed way, in the permitted way. כן יוסף עם כל צדקתו זכה נמי למעלת שלמות המוח והשכל, מה שלא זכה לזה יתר השבטים שהייתה כל בחינתם צדקות וישרת הלב ועבודה בערותה דליבה. So Yosef earned both of them. He also had, like the rest of the shvatim, the righteous of the heart, meaning being able to control the desires and love, canalized how do you say canalized? Channeled the love to God, all the feelings to the love of God, and walk God ברעותה דליבה, with the desire of the heart. And from the other side, he also earns the wisdom. על כן, יוסף השפיע על ישראל בחינת שכל הישר. The one who gave to Israel common sense, it's a word that is used recently in the politics, but the one who gave to Am Israel common sense, שכל ישר, this is common sense, was Yosef. והשבטים and the tribe, the rest of the tribe, השפיעו לישראל, they gave to Israel בחינת הלב, the heart, the aspect of heart, התלהבות, enthusiasm, ורגש הנפש, and the feeling of the heart, ורעותה דליבה, and the wish of the heart. וזה, now he connected that, שחלם יוסף, הנה אנחנו מעלמים עלומים בתוך השדה, הוא שדה אשר ברכו השם. One of the dreams of Yosef, he saw them that they are gathering עלומים in the field, wheat in the field. What is the field? אשר ברכו השם, השדה אשר ברכו השם. This is a verse that it was said by Yitzchak. So the field represent the place of God, and they were gathering עלומים in the field of God. דהיינו לקשר את ישראל ואביהן שבשמיים. So the work of the tribes was to connect עם ישראל with השם, שהקדושים הללו היו כל עבודתם לצורך דורות הבאים, כי הם בעצמם היו שלמים, לא חסר להם דבר. So they were working about the connection parts, about the feeling parts. והנה כמה אלומתי וגם ניצבה, and then the אלומה of יוסף stood, והנה תסוגנה אלומותיכם ותשתחוונה על אלומתי, כמו שהלב צריך להיות נכנע להמוח והשכל. So the rest of the אלומות, how do you say אלומה? The bunch of wheat.
Oh, stop.
The
Yeah.
stack. Shift.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the shifts of the brothers were bowing to the shift of Yosef. Why? Because he has a sechel. All the regashot, all the feelings are good and necessary, but always when they are bowing to the sechel, they should be led by the sechel, by the mind. Okay, we continue. It's a little bit of work here to go to the lines, through the line of what is leading us. ולפי דברנו הנ"ל, שביציאת מצרים, so, ביציאת מצרים, עם ישראל got יציאת מצרים, why? Because it could overcome the desire. So they, instead of desire to sin, we have desire to God. By overcoming the desire to the sin, we are earning the desire to God. So יציאת מצרים, עם ישראל earned the דבקות ורותה דליבה. The love to God, the desire to God. ועל הים, in the sea, in the Red Sea, זכו לבחינת המוח והשכל. They earned the level of the brain and understanding. יובן, מה שביציאת מצרים, we can understand, according to that, ביציאת מצרים נזכר בכל מקום אהרון עם משה. If you read during the two parashot of יציאת מצרים, Moshe is always come with Aaron. Always. Moshe and Aaron. אבל מאז עד קריאת ים סוף והשירה. But since going out from Egypt until the split of the sea and the poesy, song of the sea, לא נזכר שם אהרון כלל. You won't find the name אהרון. Once עם ישראל go out from Egypt, אהרון disappear until שירת הים. The only place it's mentioned then where? זולת מה שכתוב, ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון. Where is the first time as Aaron is mentioned, that Aaron is mentioned? When it says Miriam, the sister of Aaron. And everybody asks, why not Miriam, the sister of Moshe? Why not just Miriam? Miriam, the sister of Aaron. Why Aaron here? כי כל העניין היה בבחינת השכל. From the Exodus, from going out from Egypt until it was all about earning the level of mind. שזה משה לבדו. This is only Moshe, it's not Aaron. זולת, ומה שכתוב, ותיקח מרים ותטוף בידה, כי ידוע למבינים שנשים בחינתם בעשייה, ועשייה ברותה דליבה, מתייחסת לאהרון הכהן. When you have to do actions, it's related to the desire, and this is related more to women, and this is Miriam connected to Aaron. I cut a little bit, he explained why Aaron is the heart. Aaron has the Urim v'Tumim on his heart. So Aaron is a part of the desire, of the heart, and Moshe is a part of the mind. Okay, returning to explain what we're starting from. Again, I cut a little bit from the article. It says, ואם מה שאמרנו יתפרש לנו בטוב. According to all of that, we can understand easily, מה שכתוב, ויקח משה את עצמות יוסף עמו. What it says, that Moshe took the bones of Yosef. והיינו העצם של יוסף. The essence of Yosef, he also explains that עצמות, it's not the bones, it's the essence. What is the essence of Yosef? מוח ושכל. The mind. וזה לקח לו, להיות לו לסייע לקריאת ים סוף. Why did he take it? In order to help him in the קריאת ים סוף. קריאת ים סוף was a level of understanding, of reverence that comes from understanding, and this it was needed for Moshe to take the bones, the essence of Yosef, שכל עניינו בחינת המוח והשכל. That his issue, his topic, his character, or his attribute is the brain and the understanding. Okay, so according to that, we understand everything. Why it's written here? It's written here because Moshe wanted to liberate from Paro. Paro was escorting them, meaning we didn't liberate ourselves from the influence of the bad opinions, of the bad understanding of Paro. So he needed to, Moshe understood in this moment that he needs something else. What he needed, he didn't need the golds. He didn't need what the tribes gave or what Aaron gave, the desire, because that was already resolved. He needed the understanding, the sechel. What you have, and that was Chacham Lev. He needed to take the wisdom. Where can he find the wisdom? In the essence of Yosef. Yosef is a wise one. Okay, so this is that explanation. Shkoyach, a little bit complicated.